Abu Sufyan was leading that army of the kuffar. Somehow it came to him that we should not press because the Muslims have taken refuge high up in the mountain. And if we pursue them, engage them even in the mountain because they are at the higher position, they can only kill us by throwing the stones even. Anyhow, they just left. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, now he discussed and we have read that. But the incident that happened in the very beginning was that the Prophet came out of Medina with 1,000 men. But after reaching the foothold of the Uhud mountain, the army was visible, army of the kuffar. Then Abdullah ibn Ubay, the chief of the Munafiqeen, he returned back with 300 of his men. So now the number reduced to 700 and they were picked against an army of 3,000. So now the ratio was nearly, approximately 1 to 4. But these people, they said, because our advice and our opinion was not followed, and the opinion of Abdullah ibn Ubay was that we shouldn't go in the open field to confront the army of Quraysh. We should defend the city of Medina from within the walls. And incidentally, the same was the opinion of the Prophet himself. But the Prophet, when he saw that the Muslims, they are very emotional and they want to go out to confront the kuffar. And when they said, many of them, that we want shahada, not victory. Victory is in the hands of Allah. Actually, what we are after is martyrdom. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He accepts ourselves in our lives for the cause of Allah, for the cause of His deen. So then the Prophet decided, okay, we shall go and confront the army of kuffar in the open. So now Abdullah ibn Ubay, he said, because our opinions are not respected, so we are not going to risk our life. And he and 300 of the people that were his associates, so to say the Munafiqeen, they returned. So now, as I told you, we have already translated 4 sections. Now 2 sections remain of this discussion. Then in the next 2 sections, again we shall have division into 2. In the first, that is the 19th section, there is a mention of again the Yahud and Munafiqeen and the kuffar of Arab, the idol worshippers of Arabia. And then in the final, there will be a summing up of the whole discussion of Surah Al-Imran. And again we shall find there the most important gems of Quranic wisdom. How Iman is synthesized. What is the synthesis of Iman? And that is actually a lesson of our selected course of study also. And I have given that lesson in detail. But today, inshallah, briefly we shall review. Now we begin with يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تكونوا كالذين كفروا وقالوا لإخوانهم إذا ضربوا في الأرض أو كانوا غزا لو كانوا عندنا ما ماتوا وما قتلوا. Oh, you who believe or profess to believe, don't be like those who said about those brothers. When those brothers, they are journeying in the earth or they are on some battle or war, they say about them, لو كانوا عندنا ما ماتوا. Had they been with us, had they not gone out for journeying, or had they not gone out to the battlefield, they might not have been killed. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تكونوا كالذين. You don't be like those people. كالذين كفروا, who disbelieve actually. This is a disbelief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because as we can see in the later part of this ayah, life and death is in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If the time has come, according to the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether you are in a fortress, you will die. And if the time has not come, if you are just in the middle of the battle, you will return safe. No harm will come to you. So actually, whosoever says, had he been here, he would not have died. Had he been with us here, he would not have been killed. So actually, this shows that they don't believe that the life and death are in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are not subject to these conditions, the worldly conditions, the external conditions, the apparent conditions. They are actually in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He decides. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu la takunu. You don't be like those kalladhina kafaru, who have disbelieved and who don't have faith. They have shown that they don't have faith. They are actually the munafiqeen. They are in the background of this ayah also. وَقَالُوا لِإِخْوَانِهِمْ. And they said about their those brothers, إِذَا ضَرَبُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ, who were out on a journey in this earth, أَوْ كَانُوا غُزًّا, or they went to some battlefield, لَوْ كَانُوا عِنْدَنَا مَا مَاتُوا. Had they remained with us, مَا مَاتُوا, they would not have died, وَمَا قُتِلُوا, nor they would have been killed or slain. لِيَجْعَلَ اللَّهُ ذَلِكَ حَسْرَةً فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ. And this is why Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to make it an anguish in their hearts, so that they should have sighs and regrets. This is a pain in the heart. When a woman believes in Allah, whatever has happened is by His permission, by His will. So actually, whole matter in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَقُومَ الْوَمِي إِلَى اللَّهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ بَصِيرٌ بِالْعِبَادِ. Whatever has come from Him, I accept it. So actually, but these people, because they don't have that iman, it becomes an anguish. And now they have regrets. وَاللَّهُ يُحْيِي وَيُمِيتُ. Now this is actually the essence of iman. While actually, the death and life is in the hands of Allah. It is Allah who gives life. And it is Allah Himself who causes death. وَاللَّهُ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ بَصِيرٌ. And whatsoever you are doing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is seeing it. وَلَئِن قُتِلْتُمْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَوْ مُتُّمْ. And if you are slain or killed in the way of Allah, or you die, and die the natural death, what's the difference? So as you are in sabilillah, a person who is striving for the cause of Allah, who is continuously working hard for the cause of Allah, whether he is propagating his message or he is going to war. But the struggle was going on in the Makkah also. There was no war. But the Sahaba were making jihad for the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This jihad was not with sword, that jihad was with Quran. فَلَا تُطِعِ الْكَافِرِينَ وَجَاهِدْهُمْ بِهِ جِهَادًا كَبِيرًا. Now if they died the natural death, they were fi sabilillah. And if they went out to some war or some battle and they were slain or killed, they were fi sabilillah. So actually for Muslims it doesn't make any difference whatsoever. So this ayah is very important. وَلَئِن قُتِلْتُمْ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَوْ مُتُّمْ. What's the difference between it? The death has to come either through some sword of an enemy or through some fever or some other disease. So there's no difference for a mu'min. وَلَئِن قُتِلْتُمْ فِي سَبِيلِ. So long as a mu'min is in the way of Allah, he is striving, he is discharging his duties of da'wah ila al-khair, wa amr bil ma'ruf, wa nahy anil munkar, doing his duty, whether he is slain or he dies, لَمَغْفِرَةٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَحْمَةٌ خَيْرٌ مِّمَّا يَجْمَعُونَ. The forgiveness from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His mercy, they are bound to get, they are sure to get the maghfirah, because he was in sabilillah. Whether he died on the bed or he died in the field, it doesn't make any difference for him. So long as he was in the way of Allah, he was striving for the cause of Allah, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will definitely give him the maghfirah. He will forgive him, and He knows His mercy will cover him. خَيْرٌ مِّمَّا يَجْمَعُونَ. They are much precious than what they are amassing, they are gathering around them. These worldly things, the precious things, this death, this mercy from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His forgiveness, that is much more valuable than that. When I look to, you must be remembering that Hazrat Khalid ibn Walid radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, he fought so many battles, but he died on the bed. He was not killed in any battle. He died on the bed. So what's the difference? So actually, the difference is whether you are striving for the cause of Allah, or you are spending all your energies, all your time, all your capabilities to gather these worldly things, possessions, and money and wealth. That makes the whole difference. وَلَئِن مُتُّمْ أَوْ قُتِلْتُمْ فَإِلَى اللَّهِ تُحْشَرُونَ. Again, there's no difference. Whether you are slain or killed, or you die, you will be gathered towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So again, there's no difference. You have to go anyhow to your Lord, and you have to face that accountability. So, بِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ, this ayah is very important, very profound regarding, the leadership of an Islamic party. What should be qualities of the leaders? And we have the example before us is Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. What was the qualities of the leadership of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? And any leader of any Islamic party, if it is really Islamic, should try his best to imitate and follow in the footsteps of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Because we have read in this very surah the ayah, قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبْكُمُ اللَّهُ. Tell them, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, if you love Allah, if you claim to love Allah, then you have to follow me. Then Allah will love you. So actually the same thing here, that every leader, whether he is a big leader or a small leader, if there is a group of certain people, there is a leader. And in a very big party, there is the overall leader, then there are the leaders, local chapters have leaders. And so on, this goes on. This is in the sort of the branches. But what are the qualities of a good Islamic leader? فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ. And it was by the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, you are very lenient for your fellow Muslims. There should be leniency, not harshness. Every comrade or companion should feel that my leader, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, loves me. He holds me in high esteem. So that is the feeling that the leader should give to each one of the followers or the companions. فَبِمَا رَحْمَةٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ لِنْتَ لَهُمْ. It's actually out of the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He has